Okay, there's a lot to go through in this one. We have a set of pedals, a pedal deck, which is unfortunately hidden by lots of bits and pieces here. These are some pretty sturdy looking springs, some elastomers, other bits and pieces in the bag. These very interesting motors, which I'll go through again in a moment. I open these boxes up. There's a power cable, and in there is a power supply, so I'll just leave it in there as it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, we'll kick things off and take a look at the pedals first. So this is the throttle pedal. I'll show you the clutch and the brake as well in a moment, but a style of pedal that you've seen many times before. Now these things are not absolutely identical. I know they look really similar, but you'll see if you put them close up together, you'll see the profile is not exactly the same, but you know, more or less doing the same thing, guys. You know, that's fair to say. And indeed, the construction is basically on the same sort of level. We have stainless steel, which has been cut into parts and then all connected up like a big jigsaw. We have these standoffs and bolts and joints with some metal plates that all sort of like come together and kind of create this very strong construction. So it does work. It's a very good system for pedals and it is very sturdy. Those are bearings on the pivot points. Those look nice. Loadcell sensor at the bottom. Spring for some tension, and also a damper here, which is 20 newtons, which is basically 2 kilograms, converted to something that you're more familiar with. If you take a look at the finish on these pedals, this is powder coating. So very nice matte finish there. So yeah, looks all good. Very professionally done. And the other thing which is noticeable straight away is the way that these metal plates are cut into the frame are absolutely perfectly flush. You know, you can't get a nail in between there, and they don't protrude. They are smooth. Yeah, so all the way around, absolutely perfect. So yeah, presentation of these, when you look at them close up, is very good, you know, with the finish and the way everything is put together. Is all very tight, very impressive workmanship here. So yeah, happy to see that on these pedals. And we have a nice pedal face. So that's the SIMNET sort of logo in there. The clutch, similar deal, guys. Slightly different saddle on the back, raised to give it a clutch feel. And what's really interesting is, besides SimCat being down there and maybe making some noise, is the actual damper on here is a different rating. So that's 50 newtons, 5 kilograms. So on this one we had 20 newtons. This one we have a stronger one. And but otherwise, you know, same sort of frame design. Loadcell at the bottom, and of course just a different type of spring to give it a different feel. Nice smooth movement on the pedals. I'd say that's all good. Yeah, they do feel quite nice. And the brake, the damper on here is 100, so that's 10 kilograms. So that's really nice attention to detail, because although I've shown you pedals in the past that have these sort of dampers on here, they all use the same damper. But what SIMNET have done, even got their own sticker on there, which is kind of cool, is they are tuning each pedal individually, seeing them as individual, you know, things, and then actually using a different damper on there, different grade of damper, to give it its own feel. And I think that's a really nice bit of work on that, because, you know, generally speaking, we just expect to see the same damper on all of them, but they thought about this, and I think that's really good. But here's the brake, and again, a similar design of stuff we've seen before, guys. A stack of elastomers. That's a 100 kilogram load cell. Now I know we're used to using and seeing like 200 kilogram load cells on some of these pedals, but to be fair, that might be fine. My Hussenfeld Pro pedals that I bought years and years ago, like 8 years ago, something like that, that only has a 60 kilogram load cell on the brake pedal, and that still works just fine. So the fact this is 100 and you see ones with 200, I wouldn't necessarily say that is a problem for, you know, for this brake at all. We'll find out when we test it, but I thought I'd mention that because I kind of got this idea that some people think, you know, just a high number means better, and that doesn't necessarily, you know, equate to that. So I figured I'd just let you know. But yeah, 100 kilogram load cell. And again, just like all the other ones, you know, the other pedals, all these plates, absolutely flush. Beautiful matte finish on there. I'm really liking what I'm seeing here so far. But yeah, there you go. That's a look at the pedals. Let's bring out the elastomers and the springs that come with it. We have 3 sets of elastomers here. The one already pre-installed on the brake are the black ones. Those are 60A Shore. Blue ones are 80A and the red ones are 90. So high the rating is all to do with the stiffness. So the least firm ones are the 60. The firmest ones are the red ones at 90. Plus we have this selection of different coloured springs. So basically 4 sets and 2s. And again, these are different gauges of strength as well. So if you take a close look at those, you can just see they are, one is thicker than the next. I think the green is the thickest. So yellow, blue, red and green. And we also have the spacers that hold the springs. So we've got a bunch of those. Now SIMNET say on their webpage that it's like 300 different combinations you can kind of make up by basically, you know, changing the stack with different coloured elastomers and maybe a spring as well. So you have a ton of different setups here that you can try. You know, spring and elastomer, different elastomers, just springs. So yeah, tons and tons of options. Before I move on, let me just bring in one of these elastomers close up and look down the hole, and you'll see a metal tube or sleeve in there, and I can pop it out. So let's do that. It's not the same height, about 2/3 the height of the elastomer, but yeah, there you go. Interesting. I've never used elastomers that have a metal sleeve in like this, so yeah, very interesting, unique. One wonders what benefit that will have, but I guess we'll find out when we test them. These are tactile motors we can add to the pedals for some effect for each pedal. The first thing, let me just show you the bracket that comes with them. So that mounts to the back of the pedal like that under those bolts, or those bolts. And the first thing you'll notice, and will probably confuse you when you just look at them casually, is each one is a different shape. Now what's going on there? Quite odd, right? But there's good reason for that, because each of these motors is a completely different type of motor inside, which is why I've lined up the boxes, because I need to identify them myself. So the first one on the left is a haptic pedal linear motor, one in the middle, haptic pedal rumble motor, and on the right we have pedal tactile transducer. So each is using a different type of motor. Now in effect that means that each pedal will have a very different type of rumble effect coming through it, different type of feel, which is really interesting. Now you don't need to buy it like this where they're all different types of motors. You can basically buy all the same motor if you want. It's entirely up to you. But it's really interesting that SIMNET are offering, you know, 3 different types of motors you can, you know, add to your pedals. I thought that's really, really clever and unique. So really interesting. Yeah, really nicely made as well. You can see these aluminium enclosures. So yeah, the good finish on these. They look very, very nice. So take a look at that one. And finally this one. So these motors plug into the same controller box that the pedals plug into, so that's nice and neat. So this is the box, and there you go, clutch brake throttle, and then the sockets for these motors. On the other side, USB to your PC. That's for the ground cable. If you use it, you may not need to use it. RGB light strip socket there. I'll show you that in a moment. power supply, and also third-party socket that you probably won't end up using, but potentially I think you could, or at least SIMNET say you could plug in maybe a third-party wheelbase into here. I'm not sure what that would be, but you know, they do have this extra socket there, which is again quite interesting. The final component to show you is the pedal deck. This is aluminium, nice thick piece of metal, so no doubt no flex from that. And the heel plate is raised. It's also height and angle adjustable, so that's a nice feature of this as well. Lots of holes here for mounting the pedals. So if I get a pedal and just line it up, so those round holes are threaded. So that's how we can mount these pedals. In addition, we also have these slots as well, and it does appear they line up to the actual holes on the actual pedal itself, or the slots on the pedal. And you get look at these bags of all these bits and pieces, so obviously those are for mounting the pedals. I think we get more bits than we're actually going to need here. But let me bring these in. So these are T-nuts, and if I turn it over, you can see there's a channel cut in there, and it seems to pop in like that, which is kind of a nice thing. So yeah, you can screw the pedals down that way and slide them. I'm not sure why they've given us two different types of mounting for the pedals, but I'm not going to argue. It's always nice to have options. To mount this pedal deck to your sim rig, we have these holes up here. And down here as well, which I'll turn it over, it's easier to see. So and what they've done is they've cut out the holes, so when you do bolt this down, there's a little channel for the bolts to run in to run and flush, which is another good touch. Those as well. So yeah, attention to detail is very good actually on this pedal deck. Along with all the other things I've shown you so far, I would say everything is looking good. Yeah, finally, don't let me forget this. Remember I mentioned RGB socket there is for this strip, which obviously it's optional. You might not want to use this. Now I don't have any instructions on where this is supposed to go, but it does appear to me logically it's supposed to go around the rim like that if you are going to fit this. It is absolutely flush to the edge. Some of you might like this, some of you will think this is absolutely horrible to have, but you don't need to use it. But yeah, that's the idea, is it just goes around the edge of the pedal deck. I may or may not use this, we'll see, but that's what it's there for. Once assembled, the pedals will look something like this, though I haven't screwed them down, haven't installed the motors yet, and not plugged into the controller box. Nevertheless, this gives you a fair idea of what the finished product looks like. And there you have it guys, the SIMNET Racing SP Pro Loadcell pedals. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments.